Yeah, at first, let me say thanks for having me. Thanks to you, to Babo, Pim, and Petra that you invited me. I really feel honored to get the chance to speak at your meetup, and thank you to all of you for joining tonight. Yeah, as Andy said, I'm Thorsten, and I want to talk to you about burnout and depression as a creative person. And so let's start maybe with just a few words about me. So for almost 11 years, from 2009 until 2020, I worked for the digital agency Cellular as a director UX. So I was building up the UX department during this time, implementing UX in the whole agency, leading the team of UX designers, and creating digital products for several huge clients in Germany, in Switzerland, in Austria. I have been to Belgium actually once, my job. And so that's what I did until the beginning of 2020. Right now, technically, I'm still at my sabbatical, but I already do some work as a UX consultant, because due to Corona, traveling is not very easy to do. So yeah, I already do some work. Besides, yeah, I speak at conferences for several years now, and I also support UX designers as a mentor. When not dealing with UX, so there's another life besides UX. I do a lot of hiking and mountaineering, and I do triathlon. And yeah, in the end of 2018, I experienced maybe the biggest challenge of my life so far, when I ran into the burnout. And today I want to share my my story with you, because mental disbalances are in fact the number one reason for inability to work. But still, very often it is treated like a secret thing, like nobody should know when it happens. And I think that's the wrong way. We need to talk about it, be it our own issue, or as well as being it someone else running into it. And before we start, at first, I want to clarify just one little thing. Burnout is a form of depression, and I think it's good and it's important to name it as what it is. So it's a form of depression.
Thorsten, sorry for interrupting, but you currently
Sure.
don't have a screen share going.
I don't have.
I think you forgot to press the button.
Let me see. Now you can see it, right?
Yes, now it is there.
Should have been there before. Whatever. So we have been here. Yeah, I was talking about myself. Sorry for that. It's like I've done this several times, but then yeah, some unexpected things happen from time to time. We were talking about this earlier, Babo and me. So let's move on. I was talking about me, and as I said, I think we need to talk about burnout and depression, because it's the number one reason for inability to work, and still too often is treated like a secret thing. So that's the reason, and therefore I want to share with you my story, because I hope this could help others not to fall into this trap, or to help members of your teams not to do so. That's me, actually, in November 2018. That's 1 month before my breakdown. And I was on a 3-day hiking trip in the Scottish Highlands, so over my birthday. And what I actually realized from today's point of view, I wasn't able to smile anymore. Well, as you can see, there is not much of smiling in this picture. And there is no picture at all where I saw myself smile. And that's terrifying. And but what's really important, though the breakdown happened in 2018, it's important to understand when it begins, because a burnout or a depression starts much earlier than you think. And therefore, I want to go with you on a journey on my personal journey and share with you what happened to me, and share with you my learnings as well that I took from it afterwards. So it all began in 2009. In 2009, I joined the digital agency Cellular. And the funny story is, on my very first day, I was asked if I wanted to be a UX designer. And to be honest, I didn't exactly know what that was back then, but it sounded pretty cool. And so therefore I decided to give it a chance. And what happened, I found my dream job actually, and my passion for UX design. And I rediscovered my creativity in this job. But what is important to know, when working on your dream job, it might be much harder to realize when you start going down this so-called burnout spiral. And what I can tell from today's point of view is that things began back then already. But let's move on 2 years. So as I said before, and that was still the thing back then, I loved my job. It was super fulfilling. I felt really creative, building great stuff, great digital products. But I also had a few not so well feelings. That's what I want to call it. I couldn't name it more precise. I had a time back then where I felt I needed a break. So back then I went on a 2-month sabbatical actually. And I went surfing and hiking, had a great time. But the thing is, when coming back, I moved on like I did before. I changed nothing because I did not see the signs. And that is important to know. The signs for mental disbalances are there pretty early. And it's important to watch out for them personally on yourself, but as well as a leader or as a colleague on the people of on your team. So let's go 2 more years ahead. These not so well moments were still there. I can say in my private life, I had a lot of arguments with my former girlfriend back then. But I also was still super happy about the job. So it was more like from today, I can say some things changed in my private life and were not so well anymore. But still, there was the job that was so cool. And but back then, I realized that I had to do something maybe. And so I decided back then, 7 years ago, to get professional help. But though I did not realize that I used my job and my creativity to compensate my personal problems. And by this, I avoided to really face my problems. And just to make that clear, so life was still great. It was not like I was not feeling unwell all the time. But the thing is, there was something subsurface, and I was not able to really tackle it, though I already decided to get help. But still, I can say it's really important to get professional help as soon as possible and to get it as early as possible, because even if you only have like slightly feelings about something is going on or something feels weird, it's okay. Get help. I know from my personal experience, it feels a little weird. It feels like you are somehow wrong, but this is not the case. What I can say from today's point of view, though it did not stop me from getting into the burnout spiral, the things that I learned in the sessions with the therapist really helped me later on to get through the burnout. But I'll come back to that later. So let's go some more years ahead, 2017, 2018. From 2017, things changed in the agency. In the beginning of 2018, we got a new CEO. People started to leave. And what I can say is I always took a lot of self-affirmation out of my job. And that was really part of my problem. And with the new CEO, I was facing a situation where my work was questioned, not by the team, not by the clients, but by my boss. And this is a huge problem when you already have some mental issues. Because if you already work too much and take too much self-affirmation from your job, it's like it's toxic when you do not get the appreciation anymore. This is a typical burnout mechanism. Because in this moment, the burnout spiral starts rotating faster and faster. And so I think in November 2018, I really realized for the first time that I might be in trouble. I was showing you this picture from my Scotland trip in the very beginning. And so this trip still felt really energizing. And it was a really great trip, and I did great hikes. But when coming back from the very first minute I was back at work, all the energy was gone in seconds. And again, I felt lonely and unconscious and sad. And happy moments became very, very rare. And every task seemed to be unfeasible. And I felt an ongoing restlessness. And I needed distraction all the time because I couldn't stand my any problems anymore. So these are all our typical symptoms that you have when you're already deep in this spiral. The problem is, and that's really important to know for us as creative people, when the burnout fully kicks in, you still can be creative. It's not like you are not creative anymore. I was still able to do my job. I was still able to be creative. I still sucked too much or much self-affirmation from the job, from great projects. But in fact, this is fatal because it just cost me more and more energy, and it's really it was burning me from inside. And for people like us, it's important to know that when you fall into this burnout spiral, into this mechanism, it does not mean you're less creative, and this is really dangerous. So today I can say somehow I made it until Christmas 2018, just functioning, doing projects. In December 2018, I also had some family issues on top. Christmas was really horrible for me this year. And though I wasn't alone, I felt really lonely. And so after New Year's Eve, I broke down. And what happens then is you realize, or I realized, that I could not move on anymore. I realized and strongly felt that if I would go back to work the next day, I would physically break down. And so what happens? You feel just lonely. You feel empty, and nothing makes sense anymore. You question everything. It's like you're in darkness, actually. And what I can say is I was still lucky because I realized, and it was the day before I had to go back to work after Christmas holiday. I realized if I would go back the next day, I would physically break down. And this could also happen, right? If I would have gone back, I would fell to the ground. I mean, really. And this happens to people. The thing is, though I realized that, and though as I said, I was not alone. There were people around me, my family, my girlfriend. But you still feel like you do not want to take help from others, and that's important to know. And this is important to know that the beloved people around you have a pretty hard time as well, and they have to face you with your problems, and that's really important to know. But as I said, I was still lucky in my situation because due to my long time seeing a therapist the years before, I already knew a lot about my issues. I had an idea where to start. And so I think after maybe 2 weeks or something like this, I was able to very slowly do something and to start fighting myself back. What important to know is that you are very shaky at that time. One moment I felt like broken and lost, and another moment I had confidence just to get into a full breakdown throwback the next moment. It's like up and down, up and down, up and down. And so this is important to know, because it's not like, okay, you're at the lowest point and then you like go on a regular basis, just go up. It's like up and down, up and down. The biggest challenge actually it is to get into action and to do something. And so I think there are 3 steps that to get into action. At first, get professional. Problem is, this is not so easy sometimes, at least here in Germany. So because it's not so easy to get a therapist on a short-term notice. What you also need to do is you need to give yourself a daily routine. You need to leave your bed in the morning, because like you feel like you don't want to get up. You feel like, yeah, you just want to stay in bed. But you need to leave your bed in the morning and give yourself a daily routine. And you need to avoid distractions, and at least from time to time, start to force yourself to withstand the silence. So that not watching Netflix the whole day, because it might feel better at this moment, but it does not solve your problem. What is important to know as well is that seeing a therapist does not solve your problem. A therapist is helping you, but you by yourself have to do the work, and you have to do it like every single day. That's really important. You have to find and create your personal setup of tools, of things and habits that help you. So there is not like the one setup that helps everyone. It's like everyone needs to find her or his personal setup and the tools that helps best. So to give you an idea, here's just a very short overview of a few things that helped me. So for example, what I started pretty early after this 2 weeks, I started doing at least 2-hour walk every single day. That really helped me to get out of bed and to get outside and to just walk. And I also had a set of books and podcasts and audiobooks about these topics. And so what I did, for example, on my walks, I used to listen to these books and to start working with it. And what I also did is, and you see that on the lower left corner, I started working on my own workshop with the topic myself on my kitchen wall. Here are some more pictures about that. So what I did, I did what I can do best, putting post-its on walls, right? That's what we do as UX designers. But that really helped me, because at this point where I was able to get into action, it really helped me working with myself. Besides seeing a therapist from time to time, because it's not possible that you go to a therapist like every day. If you're lucky, you can get there once a week. And so it's really important to work with yourself and on yourself. And this really helped me. And all these techniques that I had from all the workshops here, it helped me to work on myself and to work on my dark sides, and to find out, okay, what's happening there inside me, and also to work on strategies how to face this. And so I did this like for maybe 6 weeks. And at a certain point, then I felt like, okay, now I need to get onto a next level, and then I needed to get outside. And I think this is really important at some point to get out of your well-known environment and to face yourself in a different context or situation. So what I did, I think what several people did before me, in February 2019, I boarded a train to France to walk the Camino, the St. James Way, from France to Santiago de Compostela, and further to the literally end of the world, Finisterre in Spain. So yeah, just a few pictures from my work. I was on this trip for 6 weeks, and I just had my backpack, and I was hiking for, I think, 1,000 kilometers, something about that. And that was really important and really good to me, because what I learned, or what I know today, is the key to healing is the confrontation with yourself. And this is really, really important. And what happens when you walk on such a long way, on such a long trip, it's like you get to a point where you already have left the starting point some days behind you, and still the destination is far, far away. So, and at this point, there are no necessities. There's only one important thing. And the thing is, how far do I hike today? And what you have there, this is total mental freedom, actually. And at the same time, this forces you to confront with yourself, because you cannot run away anymore where you should go. And you cannot distract yourself anymore. And this is really important part of my recovery. And as a suggestion, I would say this is really important for everyone, because you have to confront with yourself. And it's like, when you do this, and when you're on such a way, it's like there are times when you just have to cry. But this is good, because then things change on your inside, and you really trigger the healing process. So after returning from the Camino in the beginning of April 2019, I decided to go back to Cellular, to give it a try. And because to me, it felt like I still have unfinished business there. It felt right to go back. But I think everyone has to look if it's the right thing to go back to the old job, or if you have to quit and try to get to a new one. This could also be the right thing. For me, it was right to go back to the old job. The important thing is, when you come back to your life, the biggest challenge is not to fall back into old habits, and you have to be aware of this. And so here are like 4 things that are important, and that I think you should do, because I did them and they really helped me. First thing is you have to have tools in place to face difficult situations, because they definitely will come. It's not like you are back and everything is cool and you are happy all the time. You still have dark minutes, moments, hours, but you can give yourself tools that help you to go through these and to face these. So I put together my personal survival tool set. So I had certain methods to treat certain difficult situations, feelings, or flashbacks. I had a set of meditations that were really good to me. I came up with, you see that on the left, with some mantras that I was telling myself from time to time. So a mantra could be something like, I am enough, or this is good enough. Because these things really help you to go through difficult situations. And again, here there is not this one set that helps everyone. It's important to get and to find out what's your own set that helps you the best. Next thing is you have to focus on things besides work, and you have to rebuild your private life. As I said, it's like the people around you, they had a hard time and having a hard time as well. though you're in the burnout, it's like these people, you're not available to them. If you're in a relationship, this is really hard for your partner, and I definitely can tell this is not good. So you have to rebuild a private life and focus on things besides work. So what I did is I just put a few pictures here. As I said, I do triathlon, and doing the sports and having a like a regular practice timetable really helped me to focus there. On the on the downside, you see a picture of the gym hall. So I used to do gymnastics. I haven't been there for a long time, but when I came back from the Camino, I decided, hey, it's time to go back to gym and to see the people there and to see some friends. You see me with my little nephew. So I visited my sister in Copenhagen and her family and hang out with them. And I also did some hiking. That's on the right. When I was in California in the end of last year, I climbed up Mount Whitney. So as I said, important is whatever it is, and it does not necessarily mean you have to like do long travels or whatever, but find things that are important to you besides work and that are more important than work. But also you have to reevaluate your work personally and as a lead as well. So as I said, for me, it felt right to get back to the old job, and I can tell it definitely was the right thing because it gave me the chance to reevaluate my way of working, and it helped me actually to realize that my way of working with clients and with the team and with my team is highly appreciated. The last months before my breakdown, I was in doubt if my way of doing it was wrong. I wasn't sure if me as a person had to change fundamentally. Coming back to the job, I realized that my way of doing things is quite okay. And by the time I realized that it's not myself who is wrong, but the environment and the management situation at the job is not the right one for me anymore. So here on the slide, you see some pictures from the biggest project I did in 2019 and worked with the team. It was, for my healing process, it was really important to get back and to do this and to regain the confidence in myself and the way how I work. But it's also important to start new things, check new directions, connect to new people. And I was really lucky actually to get some great new connections. So I was invited right after I came back to work in May last year. I was invited by Adobe to be a judge on the Adobe Creative Jam here in Hamburg. And then later on, I was invited by Adobe to get to talk on the live stream for the World Interaction Design Day. And so to talk about responsibility as a designer, which is really a matter of heart topic for me. And so through this connection, then I was invited to the UX Leader Summit at Adobe Max in Los Angeles last year, which was pretty cool because I met so many inspiring and great people there. And on this trip, I also was able to visit Adobe in San Francisco and also Facebook in Palo Alto. So what happened, besides the topic I named before, this convinced me that my time at Cellular has to come to an end. I felt so much creative spirit, and especially the visit of Max boosted that again. And it felt like this creative spirit wants to burst out, and Cellular is not the right environment for me anymore. And therefore, it's important. If you have to go, you have to go. Change is good at the right time, and it will boost your creativity. I definitely can say that from my experience. So in the beginning of this year, I left Cellular after almost 11 years. It was a beautiful farewell, actually, with tears and a nice speech from my team. And it showed me that it was exactly the right moment to go. Not too late, but not too early as well. I was really sad to leave the wonderful team, but with no doubt at any point that this is the right way. Instead, I was so curious about what will come next. And I left Cellular without a plan. I felt that I needed this mental freedom of not knowing what comes next, of having time to travel and to work on personal projects and stuff like this. Because the important thing is, and I'm still learning on this, I definitely can tell, you have to give yourself time. And that does not necessarily mean you have to travel through the world, because not every one of us can travel so much, right? But you have to give yourself self time. You really need it. And though I was already back for like 9 or 10 months, it was still important to give me that time. So I planned to go to the Himalaya. Actually, I wanted to hike to the Everest base camp. Well, as we all know, things happened in February and March. So well, I didn't go. But the cool thing was, instead, I did work on some great personal projects. And though I couldn't go to the Himalaya in the summer, I was able to do, well, a shorter trek. But I was hiking through the Alps from Germany to Italy, doing a transalp hike. So at least I could do shorter hike. And I think for me it was pretty good that I had to stay home for such a long time, and to actually learn to focus on what I really wanted to do. I'm still not 100% sure what I want to do next. But important for me was, though I made huge progress in 2019 already, I'm still on my way, and I still need to learn to focus on what I really want to do, and to put aside what I don't want to do, and to learn about the projects that fulfill me with true joy and satisfaction. So as I said, I did a lot of projects. Just a few things. So I joined the V versus Virus hackathon, which was a huge hackathon here in Germany to face problems around the whole COVID situation. I was giving 2 talks about sustainable UX, which is also a real matter of heart topic for me. And based on this, right at the moment, I'm working with some other people on what we call the Sustainable UX Manifesto. Well, we wanted to have it ready by now, but well, we need some more weeks, I think. But we're working on. And I also was a guest at 2 podcasts talking about my burnout and the burnout and my creative parts. And yeah, as Annie already said, last week I was invited to talk at Adobe Max about my burnout. So yeah, it was good to have the time to do these things. And this leads me to my last chapter, actually, because it's really important to know that the journey, unfortunately, never ends. I'm still facing difficult moments and phases from time to time, especially in these Corona times. You can ask the people around me for sure. But a difference to 2018, today I can react. I have a tool set. I'm not falling into this totally lost situation anymore. And that is really important. But it's also important to know that these moments will come, but they will go as well. And the more important thing is what I can say from today. I grew massively going through this depression. Today I know that this part of myself also is the basis of some of my biggest strengths, I think. And what I learned, for example, and this is a very interesting topic, and we could do a talk for like 30 minutes about this, but I just want to name it here. I learned I'm a so-called what's the English term? High sensitivity person. So this makes me feel like certain situations differently from other people, and therefore it can cause trouble for me. But if you know about it, it can become one of your biggest strengths, because you get really strong empathic antennas and by this, and this is a great thing, actually. And so these things actually and the depression and all the way going through it helped me to rediscover the real joy of being creative, and I think to become a better creative leader and mentor as well. So what I can say from today's point of view, in the end, everything made sense and happened for a reason. So why did I tell you my story? Because I think we have to change our view about burnout and depression. We as creative people, we need to understand that creativity can hide a burnout. And for a long time, I thought, hey, I'm still creative. Things are still good because I cannot be in trouble because I'm still creative. It's the opposite. You can already be stuck deep in the burnout spiral and still being creative like never before, like hell. But the problem is, in this case, your creativity is harming you because subconsciously you use it to avoid facing your problem, and that makes it worse. And I think we need to talk so much more about this. As a suffering person, as well as, and even more important, as a leading person, we have to start talking about depression like we talk about a broken leg. It's nothing that should be hidden. And that's really important for all of us to know. And with this, I would like to come to an end. If you have any questions, I'll answer them now. If you want to get in touch later on, feel free to contact me on any channel you wish. I put together some of the resources that I use, so some of the books and podcasts that helped me in my burnout on my website. That's on the lower left there, thorstenjonas.com/burnout. And there's also the link to the Sustainable UX Manifesto. Well, it's not set up yet, but hopefully soon within the next week. And so now I'm open to questions.
Oh my gosh, Thorsten, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your experience and being so vulnerable about what you went through. I think it's incredibly resonant for so many of us, especially this year. And I just want to give you a heartfelt thank you and a virtual hug. No, I really, and personally, I really identify with what you went through in your journey. Actually, it's part of the reason why I left the United States when I did and ended up in Europe. And one of the reasons why I think I will never go back. Also, as a hiker, I identify with you. When I went through my burnout in Los Angeles, I said either I'm buying a one-way ticket to Mexico or I'm hiking the Pacific Crest Trail for 6 months.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty glad
I still have that on my list, actually.
Yes, the Pacific Crest Trail. Me too. It's still on my list as well. I'm glad that I bought the one-way ticket to Mexico because somehow I wound up in Belgium and I'm here tonight. But indeed, it's something that I think a lot of creative people go through. We all go through. So thank you. There's several questions and I want to just go through all of them, but also open up the Q&A to your session afterwards. But I think that there's some really good questions that the whole audience needs to hear. The first one is, do you have any recommendations on how to notice some symptoms of burnout in your peers? If you think that they might be going through this, like, do you have any ideas of what the symptoms are, or what we should be looking out for?
I would say at first, if you're a strong empathic person, I think you will notice it, because you will notice if a person feels well or if there is something how to say,
a little bit different.
Something hidden behind. And so what you also I think can see is if people really take, like I did, take lots of self-affirmation from the job. So like, especially if you're in the agency world, like, you know, it's still too normal to work long hours there. So it was not at our company. So Cellular is not a company where people work like hours and hours, but I always worked more hours than I had to. And so what I can tell other people from my team, they at least noticed that I was the person that worked too much. And I think you can see that. And I think you will also, I think at some point you can see if people are exhausted, or if they're like full of energy, or if they're not, if there's not so much energy. So there's not this one like sign check thing that says, okay, there is something going on. It's more like you have to look out how the person behaves, and then you will see things. I think if you are a lead and you have like I don't know. I know, again, as I said, there's not this one checkmark thing, or these 5 checkmark things. It's more like you have to look out for persons. Yeah, how much is the person working?
Yeah,
and
checking in with people on a regular basis. Like, I think that's something that we should all do, is just say, how are you doing? I know at my company right now,
Exactly.
for our stand-up, we always start with, how are you? And everybody can just talk about anything. It's not even about work. It's just, did you sleep well last night? How's it going with your family? And we all share personal details about things that might be affecting us outside of work, that our colleagues should be aware of. And
what you can do as a lead is, so what I always tried with my team was giving them the feeling that whenever they have any problem, they can come to me and talk one-on-one about problems. And by doing this, and by building up these what's the word? So having people this trust in you, and you're having these talks with your people, they still might not tell you everything, but being in these talks, you get much closer to the person, and you get a much better feeling. Okay, is there something going on? How is the person feeling? So that's what I experienced, especially in the last year when I came back, and when I realized, okay, these empathic antennas are really a strong thing, actually, because I felt like, okay, yeah, I can see if people have problems and can try to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to bring that personal aspect into work, because it fosters empathy with your fellow workers, with your fellow coworkers. If you can tell them, like, things are really difficult at home, I might be a little bit off for the next week or so, and then they can give you a little bit of slack. And then when you're back in form, when you're back on form, like you feel that you can give more, but you have that leeway to say, like, I might be a little bit less this week, or if I'm a little bit sensitive in a meeting, like, it gives you that space to be able to communicate that to your colleagues, and your colleagues can respond accordingly as well.
Yeah, true.
So there's another question. So if you do see a colleague where you really are starting to get concerned, what do you think is the best way to start a conversation about that, especially if it's someone that maybe you don't know very well, or you might not feel comfortable having like an intimate conversation with? Like, what's a good way to approach them?
I think it's always a one-on-one situation, and it's it can be hard to find the right words, and I think important is to try to so what I always try is to get on the same level with the person I'm talking to, right? So, hey, I'm here, I want to help you. I at some point understand your problems. I have faced similar situations before, and because this builds up, like, yeah, you're on the same level. The other person does not feel like, okay, there's the other person that feels all okay and stands above me. So but so what I can say is, I remember some years ago a colleague of mine who is a typical salesperson, but he's a nice guy, and at one point he approached me and said, hey, are you doing okay? I don't know what's going on there. So, and what I can tell, though I didn't realize I already was in trouble back then, I really appreciated that he came up to me, though he used his salesperson words, right? It was still, so I think the one-on-one approach is really important, and you have to be careful. And it can happen that the other person says, no, it's not. And then it's important to stay in touch, actually, and to see what goes on there. And I think if you see that things are getting really bad, next step would be to try to approach like the family of the person or something like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So that would be the next step. But I haven't been in this situation. So, but that's what I would recommend to do then.
It's very good advice. And a couple of years ago, I was also going through a difficult time. I went on a retreat to Norway, actually, with a lot of women designers from all around the world. And there was something that one of the participants told me, and she was a very, very high-ranking design executive at a prominent startup in Silicon Valley. And she said, know that your boundaries and that your way of working is valid. And in fact, that's actually a very profound way of showing leadership. And that quote popped into my mind as you were speaking. And it's always really stuck with me. And I think that this is an example of how thinking about this and being vulnerable and sharing and looking out for yourself and also your fellow employees, your coworkers, your team members that you work with. That's where it's really relevant. Being empathic, looking out for one another is a form of leadership. And I really, really appreciate you sharing your story with us. And I hope it has resonated with the other members as much as it has with me. And once again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And Thorsten is going to have his own Q&A session after this talk. So if you want to talk to him a little bit more about this topic, go ahead and find him. So wrap up this evening, I just want to say thank you again for joining us. We've had another wonderfully diverse and international audience. Also to my fellow Belgians here, big hugs to you. Thank you so much for continuing to support this community. I want to give another big shout out to our volunteers. And please come and join us and talk to us in the sessions and the networking event afterwards. In fact, Bavo has told me that the first person who matches up with him in the networking session will get a free Adobe water bottle. Oh, I don't have one to show. It's like this, except it has Adobe on it. You'll get a free Adobe water bottle from us. So please come and join us in the networking and the sessions. And we'll see you in a couple of minutes. And hopefully next month at our next event with Internet Architects. Have a wonderful evening. See you next time.